Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about foolproof, why we fall for misinformation, and how to build immunity by Sander van der Linden. More and more, there is a big chunk of the world that steadily fall deeper into misinformation. Combined with our historical habit of celebrity worship, a lot of this misinformation can be used by people to gain hundreds of thousands to millions of followers because a lot of this misinformation are based on emotion. Rage bait, for example, is a huge part of this issue, especially in a platform like Twitter where there is almost next to no moderation under Elon Musk's leadership. And not only that, because it is now monetized, there are no incentives there to create rage bait because it is unfortunately still such a good bait. And no, the public note on the post, while often funny, are not that helpful at reducing the amount of rage bait there. And Twitter is not the only ones. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, and even YouTube where I am posting this video can be easily categorized into producers of rage bait content. It's just Twitter easily takes the throne for now for being the worst. It is so bad that it makes Reddit look sane for the most part. One of the rage bait that is often seen in short form content or longer, for example, is street interview. It is often used to make people angry at certain group of people. Usually people that the group just hates for usually no legitimate reason. They often had paid actors taken from sites like Fiverr or sites that you can actually Google to hire professionals. Even in Malaysia you have sites like Twine. And since the actors are often not told what the lines they will perform will be used for, they have no idea what they've helped create. They can also just record for hours to find 20 to 30 people and then only use one of them that they know will make people angry. But of course they don't make any disclaimer that the short interview of that one person is barely 1% of all their interviews. Or they can just use editing techniques like frankenbiting or frankenwording where they ask multiple questions, but you edited them purposely to make people angry, using question A and then pair them with answer C because there are bad people who only care about getting more views, more fame, and more money. And to make matter worse for us, all of these I just mentioned are just very small examples of how people spread misinformation in the modern era. These are considered old tech since we have AI now. Here's where the book came in. It is an attempt at writing a comprehensive look into misinformation and how it spread and how to be more immune towards it. The book even starts with a very appropriate story. In a small town called Kirby in northwest of England, with a population of little over 40,000 people, a person named Michael Whitty lives there. He's a decent man, aged 47, who have 3 kids and even volunteers for a few local charity. But on a Sunday, 5 April 2020, he and another 2 accomplices burned a phone mast owned by Vodafone. He has been getting online and started believing the fake rumors circulating online that 5G is the cause of coronavirus. Even though the coronavirus victims near the 5G tower map is just the population density in UK where internet upgrade is prioritized. And this wasn't a decision they made in a moment either. Based on their internet history, he and his friend took a considerable amount of time researching 5G technology and discussing it in online chat rooms. Then back in 2016, a man named Edgar Madison Wells carried a semi-automatic rifle to a pizzeria because of a conspiracy theory spread by celebrities and politicians that Hillary Clinton was hiding sex trafficking in the basement of the pizzeria. It's easy to brush these two events as rare occurrences done by chronically online nut jobs, but more than 7 million people in UK believe in 5G conspiracy and more than 32 million in US believe the same conspiracy. And even more people from Asia and Southeast Asia fall victim to similar fake news about the coronavirus that we now know are paid by Russia to spread to America but also got over to the whole world. Even though a lot of them are old conspiracy from the Christian Science cult who helped conmen like Andrew Wakefield spread them further. The truth is that everyone at some level is susceptible to misinformation and propaganda. The color of pink and blue, for example, which I think most people don't really care that much now, but it used to be that pinks are for boys and blue are for girls. But marketing for toys and clothing and pop culture at some point made pink are for girls and blue are for boys. And for the case of Whitty and Wells and the people who got arrested during the 2021 attack on US Capitol, many of these people are very active on social media when they were investigated. In 2018 in India, an incident known later as Indian WhatsApp lynching happened because of a fake news that there were child kidnapping resulted in the death of more than 20 people. And now the numbers of fake news only got worse. Remember when Russia also started spreading fake news about how Ukraine attacked Russia by using videos from Israel attacking Gaza so they can justify their attack to Ukraine? Sometimes they are even using footage from the Arma 3 game for this fake news. I mean, the Russian and another Christian called Ziklag even paid influencer to help spread misinformation and propaganda in US. The author treated this as symptom of a sickness, of a disease, and he created a lot of studies like building the bad news game that help introduce people to fake news and how it is built, all to find ways to increase people's immunity to the disease of misinformation, so we don't just wait until someone treat them later or debunk them, because often the posts that debunk them get much less views than the original misinformation, so it's not enough. We need more than debunking, we need pre-bunking. People has always been bad at discerning between fact and fiction. Remember how people used to be scared of Dracula because of Bram Stoker novel, and how War of the World novel once got infamous because it caused panic when a radio show decided to air the novel as an actual thing that is currently happening. The author used to give a few headlines to his audience and tell them two of these are fake and only one of them are real. Here's an example. 1. Putin issued international arrest warrant for George Soros. 2. A baby born in California was named Heart Eyes Emoji. And 3. Critical farts so loudly that he gives away his hiding place. You usually have 6 headlines with 3 of them real and the other 3 are fakes, and usually, from 15,000 people, only 4% of them guess all of them correctly. For the example given above, the correct one is number 3. A man in Missouri wanted for possession of drugs was running away and he got found out because he farted loudly. On another study, he tried to have almost 8,000 middle schoolers that are more used to the internet to differentiate between an actual post in Slate magazine with the native ad hosted on that site. Native ad is an ad that is built to look the same as where they are posted, with the only difference is it is tagged as sponsored content. And they found out that the middle schooler trusted more about the post about climate change from a native ad paid by an oil company about climate change because it had some pie charts, even though the post clearly had the oil company logo. And not just the ads, sometimes the posts from this mainstream news are misleading, like when every news media put Andrew Wakefield on TV, making him more famous. Or in 2016, when The Sun published a front-page news that most Muslims in UK sympathize with terrorists, even though the post never once said anything about any group of terrorists when it was taken, and that non-Muslim also had the same result to those polls. But somehow this one poll resulted in 2 different headlines. The author said that it is useful to differentiate between 3 types of this kind of bad information. 1. Misinformation, 2. Disinformation, and 3. Propaganda. Misinformation, while it is also false and misleading, can often be honest mistake, while disinformation is misinformation on purpose that is often done to deceive or harm others. When disinformation is deployed in the service of political agenda, it's propaganda. Which I think is good to differentiate between these 3 because rage bait can often cloud people's judgment on which issue is more important. Unfortunately, our brain often fill in the blanks when we are given enough information, like this illusionary Kansas triangle where there is no triangle. But we fill in those blanks, and in the era of bad information, we often don't fill those blanks with factual evidence, and combine that with the fact that we are creatures of repetition. When we are learning something, we repeat them, and we get the same information over and over again. We could eventually believe this information to be true even if it's bad information. This is called illusory truth effect based on a study from 1977 by Lynn Hasser and David Goldstein. It's the same technique used by Donald Trump. The more he repeats over and over again that the election is rigged, the more people believe them to be true even when evidence is given to them that it is in fact false. Kinda like how after presented with the triangle image knowing that there is no triangle there, you can still see triangles in them. People can even go so far as remembering events that never happened because of misinformation. Again, like the people who believe Trump and attack their own country because of it. So the author gave us 11 antigens against misinformation. The first one is to make the truth more fluent, making it easier to digest and share. But if it's just that, it is of course not enough, because our brain is often not flexible enough to change our belief based on a new evidence. For example, if someone believes that NASA is an evil organization that faked the moon landing, then a new evidence that shows that NASA is not the only organization that has gone to the moon. Other countries that had their own space program has also done the same thing. Then these competing countries and organizations should be a new evidence that challenge someone's belief in the moon landing conspiracy. But often people deny the new evidence as truth because it contradicted their belief. We can see an even more extreme example of this again in America, and again thanks to Donald Trump when his allies didn't even lie and tell people that he misspoke when Trump lied. Instead, what they do is they try to build alternative facts to make his lies more believable. Like the recent they're eating the pets moment, when they can just say he misspoke because he got baited in the debate and went on a random rant. Instead, what they do is they try to make it sound like a true story. Then there are people who believe the lie no matter what kind of facts and logic are thrown to them. This is because for some people, their truth is not motivated by accuracy, but by other motivation like politics. A study in Canada has even shown that between liberal and conservative, liberal are often easier to learn about information regarding climate change compared to the conservative. And even if your political bias is as neutral as possible, people can only care about so many things before they are out of juice. For example, if you're too busy surviving for your work, you only have so much time and energy and can only care so much about any topic. And often, these people then rely on using cognitive bias to satisfy themselves with only looking up the subject only a little. A few shows, a few articles, or maybe some random podcast. Then they make their conclusion only based on those when the information is so much more compared to the little piece of information that they've gotten. And it's not like people can only have one bias at a time. They can have multiple bias and their effects strengthen each other. If you have both political bias and cognitive bias, most likely you are currently sick with bad information because evidence to the contrary only makes you more hard-headed. This is called belief polarization. Because you are faced with evidence that don't support your view, it gives you cognitive dissonance, makes you uncomfortable, and sometimes to escape that uncomfortableness, people will choose to deny reality. It is the risk of committing to an ideology and use that singular ideology for every part of their life. And this is the second antigen that the author suggests, pulling people back to accuracy-driven motivation for seeking information, so they are more likely to be willing to spend more time than just podcasts and social media. Which is easier said than done. We can see this from the rise of conspiracy groups and society that view the world in a distorted lens. In 2019, a 26-year-old man named Bucky Wolf killed his brother with a sword because he believed that his brother is a lizard alien impersonating his brother, a conspiracy that comes from the twisted mind of David Icke. A lot of these conspiracies usually have the same pattern that manipulates people's fear, making them believe that a great entity is going after them, specifically after them. And they are so interlinked that when you believe in one, it's so easy to fall into the other conspiracy. Wolf that killed his brother don't just believe in lizard alien. He is a far-right neo-fascist that believes in QAnon conspiracy and believes that the Western culture is at war with the enemy within. And if you believe in any conspiracy, for example like POP that believe in flat earth, you also believe in many conspiracies that have been debunked over and over again because you are not interested in accuracy. Besides playing with their paranoia and inferior complex, conspiracy theories also plays with people's narcissism, their superior complex, making them feel like they're better than the people who are trying to debunk them because they don't believe that the thing they believe in. This is why conspiracy believer behavior tends to interchange between a superior being with illusion of grandeur and a just regular person with a victim complex depending on who they are talking to. A lot of people who fall victim to conspiracy often fall there because of conjunction fallacy, where because their belief is not based on accuracy, they often assume that a person is representative of two things, even when the probability of multiple criteria is smaller. For example, if A. Linda is a bank teller and B. Linda is a feminist, instead of viewing them as two things, people who fall victim to conjunction fallacy will only view this as one, that Linda is a feminist bank teller. That's it. Even though the percentage of both of them being equally 50-50 is so small, especially if you do the math accurately, and this applies to a lot of conspiracy where you just assume things and add lines to the triangle where the triangles don't exist. To help identify conspirational thinking, the author and a few of his colleagues made 7 traits to identify conspiracy that form the acronym CONSPIRE. Contradictory, overriding suspicion, nefarious intent, something must be wrong, persecuted victim, immunity to evidence, and reinterpreting randomness. A lot of conspiracy believers also have fallen too far to be safe from their false beliefs because of this. That's why on politics nowadays, a lot of politicians are using conspirational narrative because when you get pulled in, you'll refuse any hand that are offered by others to save you. That's why the third antigen that the author gives is how to identify and resist the 7 traits of conspirational thinking. I know it sucks that it's unto us to be more aware because conspiracy theory have so much staying power because the people who believe them for some reason won't shut up about them, so even old conspiracy like the Holocaust denier still exists. If anything, their influence keeps disturbing people who are trying to make the world a better place. Holocaust denier makes it harder for people to have Palestine ongoing genocide because they keep trying to insert themselves into the conversation despite most people knowing that they are lies. So it makes it easy to brush off the people supporting Palestinians as one of the nutjobs who denied the Holocaust. It's also the same during the pandemic, where people who believe Andrew Wakefield lies kept making it harder for the pandemic to be resolved faster because they try to insert themselves into the conversation, denying the use of masks and vaccine, despite Andrew Wakefield is not actually an anti-vax. He's just someone who tried to sell more vaccine by faking his research and torturing children, and failed to do so. So he now relies on getting paid to speak on a conspiracy theory, like making an appearance on Donald Trump rally or getting into a movie paid by Robert Kennedy Jr., spreading the anti-vax conspiracy and worsening vaccine hesitancy. And this is the fourth antigen. To minimize their continued influence, try not to attack people who believe misinformation. Do not trigger their victim complex. Talk to them just once. Give them some fact sandwich. Lead with facts, give them expert sources, warn about the myth and its harmful negative on people, expose how manipulative the technique they are using, and then end it with another fact, a more credible explanation other than the conspiracy. The more we lower their impact, the better it becomes, because it is getting easier and easier to spread them because of how easy it is to make content nowadays. Misinformation, conspiracy, and propaganda has been around for centuries, but it is no longer spread through just some coins and word of mouth. It spread through the most accessible place on earth now, the internet, where bad information spread much easier and much faster. For example, it used to be AIDS deniers like Foo Fighters needs a lot more effort in spreading messages that killed a lot of people with HIV compared to today where it's now just a matter of days. Hoax video like the pandemic can spread to more than 8 million people. A ton of studies has also proven that misinformation just spread faster than just regular old information. That's why rage bait is the trend nowadays on the internet, while the debunking and more important and accurate information spread less than the original rage bait content. And as I mentioned, it is so easy to create fake content nowadays. You can cut a knife to make it look more malicious, especially PSA messages. Karen Rebelo, a professional fact-checker from Mumbai, even caught a video of kidnapping that is from PSA warning about how to watch your children more carefully. These are shallow fake, misinformation created through simple video editing like cutting and pasting. The Frankenbite that I mentioned at the start of this video is one of these. Making a habit of not spreading online videos like this can help with the fifth antigen given in the book, limiting the viral spread of fake information on social media. Because the more you click that share or retweet button, the more you are becoming a vital tool in creating an echo chamber for someone else. Caleb Kane, for example, an ex-right-wing extremist that fell into the rabbit hole of misinformation and propaganda and only managed to get out, not easily, through finally learning to not just push away people trying to help him out of the echo chamber that he has found himself in. It is really easy on any social media platform to fall into their algorithm pipeline, which recommended them the type of contents that they just watch. And because of the circular reasoning fallacy where you kept hearing the same line over and over again and it is getting more true in your ear the more you listen to them, it is easy to fall into these rabbit holes, especially because of how social media is built and how a lot of these communities are chronically online. When you leave a comment there, you often get many likes, replies, or worse, a reply by the famous content creator with millions of followers, giving you that dopamine injection that made you feel good to be part of the community, thus upgrading your echo chamber into a filter bubble. People who have gone this far will only listen to information based on what they like to hear. So they got further and further away from accuracy because it's now mostly based solely on feeling or gut feeling. And not only that, people who have fallen this far down the rabbit hole usually are people who are actively spreading the disease of misinformation, and often they genuinely think that they're doing a good thing by spreading this misinformation. And worse, once someone got this far, facts are no longer the cure for the misinformation they've deeply held, especially when they are still very active on social media. There is hope though. Just like victims of any addiction, people who are addicted to social media and misinformation on social media can do some social media diet to get healthier. Study has shown that polarization of an individual can actually be lessened with a healthy diet away from the internet for a while. This is the sixth antigen. Avoid echo chamber and don't fit the algorithm, which I know is easier said than done, because the people who built this platform have spent billions of dollars to maximize ways to get us addicted to them. Internal documents from TikTok has recently shown that they only need 35 minutes for people to get addicted to their app. Then you add this with how there are first world countries and very wealthy cult and individuals that are trying to start culture wars on them to their benefit. And social media can quickly become a recipe for disaster for people who don't know how to navigate it safely. Because of the massive Kogan leak of Facebook, corporates and politicians with infinite money knows that they can buy targeted ads. Micro-targeting very specific individuals based on their interaction with other people on the platform, whether it's like posts or search term. That's why billions was spent for ad campaign like the vote leave for Brexit, even though it's basically throwing away money for little benefit except for a few individual political gain. But micro-targeting only get to very specific individuals. That's why to compensate for the low reach, they paid millions and billions bombarding this user with the same misinformation over and over again, so they'll believe it more and more like we discussed. That's why Elon Musk bought Twitter. That's why you saw him at the front page of Twitter when you created a new account. That's why you cannot ever block his account for appearing on your page. That's why he boosted the appearance of his own post to other users, so he can bombard you with the same information over and over again like a cult leader so you'll believe him. If you are seeing the same post with the same vibes over and over again, you will need to be careful because this is the 7 antigen the book gave you to identify the sign of micro-targeting and resist their attempt at getting you. What is fascinating is that this technique of bombarding people with the same information over and over again until they believe them has been done to people kidnapped by North Korea that I mentioned in my review of Kim Jong-il kidnapping incident book. And it has also been done to prisoners of war to indoctrinate them so they will change side to their opponent, betraying their own country. But in modern era, all of this is accessible through our phone and we did it to ourselves. But now that we know how this misinformation gets to us, we need to learn how to actually make us stronger against them. A new science of pre-bunking, and the way to do this is not through avoiding all the misinformation, instead you expose themselves to them, just like strengthening your own antibody. Because this misinformation usually have the same technique used to exploit our logical fallacy, you can expose people to the more tame one until they recognize how misinformation was built. And while it is not the one thing to end all misinformation, it is currently one of the best skills that everybody can learn. Everybody. And this is the 8 antigen from the book, Inoculation Against Misinformation. And that's not the only defense the books give. With the help of Rob Cialdini, who have studied influencing people for decades, they studied the building blocks of how the people who spread misinformation manipulate people and made the 6th degree of manipulation with another acronym, DEPIC. Discrediting, emotion, polarization, impersonation, conspiracy, and trolling. We've actually covered some of these. Discrediting any source of information you don't agree without fact-checking them, manipulating your emotion with rage-bait content, polarizing people against people by making it us against them, impersonating professional or events like the people who got paid by Russia to act like they're journalists when they're not, conspiracy, which we have learned a lot from the acronym conspire, and trolling, which includes all of the above and even more now with AI and bots going wild with spreading misinformation. And even better news, they not only made that and put it in this book, but they also made a game that you can play for free, where you play as the bad guys creating bad news, hence the name of the game, Bad News. You know how a game can make you feel smart and more confident when they create a well-made puzzle for their game? This is that, but you also gain the 10 antigen against misinformation, identify and debunk 6 degree of manipulation. And games like Bad News can be good because, let's face it, not that many will read books like what I'm doing right now. That's why my channel will most likely always struggle for views. But if games can help people increase their digital and media literacy, that's great. They even made Go Viral, another game teaching the misinformation technique used during the coronavirus. And from these experiences, they made another free game, Harmony Square, that you can play to keep building your skills against misinformation. And they'll keep learning and adapting this approach to hopefully reach more people. And just like how with COVID vaccine we finally has gained some limited herd immunity to the disease, maybe we can one day get the 10 antigen the book gave us against misinformation, psychological herd immunity. And pre-bunking isn't exactly a new thing, it's just a more solid term for it with more applications, like stoicism with cognitive behavior therapy. Pre-bunking first appeared in history being practiced by Aristotle to go against sophists, the empty debate people of his generation. And another thing that Aristotle is famous for is his teaching that is still being spread to modern era. And just like Aristotle teaches people his skill that he have learned, maybe you could too, because that's the last antigen against misinformation from this book, to inoculate your friends and family. The book is not the most well-written non-fiction book I've read this year, but it's the kind of book that the more time passes, when the generation that lived before the era of internet like me disappear, The more book like this will be important as a learning tool to navigate a world where bad information is only getting easier and easier to spread. That's why I highly recommend this book and the games the author made, and I give this a 4.25. What do you think? Let me know if I missed anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.